As a time I started brewing, actually it was really very nice because I had a lot of money.
It was also my time, to reflect. Did I really live to the standards of my expectation?
After the funeral of that man, we just see the people were seeing us very badly now. So it was very hard time.
I wanted them to set a good example. These are the women who started from nothing to something.
We have to live in a good life.
Meet Ruth. She is part of the Inget women's group.
Inget group, its literal translation means ignite the ignition.
And today, this group of single mothers from Western Kenya has a lot to sing about. They are welcoming the arrival of 3 much-anticipated gifts.
On behalf of people from all over the world, from Australia to Europe to Ireland to the United States to right here in Juakali and in Kenya, I give you 3 cows. You grow it to where it's going to be.
But just 5 years ago, life for these women was very different.
These women group, they were organized, as brewers. They were brewing the local liquor.
Changa, which in Swahili means kill me quick, is a highly concentrated form of alcohol, brewed illegally in Kenya's poorest areas. It is as potent as rocket fuel, and its cheap, toxic ingredients have caused many to die or go blind.
Because I am single and I don't have anything, I must brew, so I brew.
And soon the women would find themselves accomplices to murder. Their illicit alcohol business helped fuel violence after Kenya's divisive 2007 elections.
I grew up in Nandi district at an area called Laboret. My mother is a widow, has 7 children, 5 girls and 2 boys. And I went to school to Form 2.
2 packets of salt. Price per packet.
But at the time I was in Form 2, my mother got sick and she was admitted. Everything went to the hospital, to my mom. And nobody paid for me the school fees. That is where I left the school.
At 16, Ruth met an older man and became pregnant. But the relationship did not last.
That is where I come back with when I was pregnant. Yeah. After staying at home, I get a first-born child, a boy, when I was at home.
Back at home with her sick mother, Ruth gave birth to her son, Ronald, and found work at a nearby cereal factory.
They were paying us 900 per month at that time. So, and I was seeing it was a lot of money. So I just do for a short time, and then my mom said, no, I'm not looking after your child, just to see what you will do with your child. Just to go to your place, go to your house. And that is why I just suggest now, I better go away from this house.
Alone in the world, with an infant to care for, Ruth left her mother and walked to the nearby village of Tuigoin. She rented a small house, but soon the bills started to pile up.
I was needing actually to start a business, but I did not get a good business because I did not have the capital. So I just come back now. I start with brewing.
Brewing changa is cheap, and the ingredients are easy to come by. Selling for 20 shillings a glass, popular brewers can make money fast. While this can be dangerous to those who drink it, for many, paying upwards of 120 shillings for a beer makes it an affordable risk worth taking.
So because I was single, the women who had husbands did not allow me to be among their groups. I was having now the other single mothers, widows, and then we just start now a group.
Ruth and 19 other single mothers in the village formed a group and pooled their earnings to buy ingredients for changa. They rented a plot of land near a river, where they could collect water for the liquor. In 2008, during Kenya's hotly contested elections, Ruth's illicit business boomed.
At the time I started brewing, actually it was really very nice because I had a lot of money. We used to go every morning to boil the brewings. At 4, we used to come back to our homes with the brewings we used to sell at night.
Andrew Kipkorir was one of Ruth's clients.
My involvement with the Ingat women group started back in the year 2008, immediately after post-election violence. Just before that, I was one of the youths that people looked upon, I had surpassed some standards that this community used to measure themselves against. But when the year 2007 came, we had this thing about the election, campaigning, and I had attracted a lot of attention from my good politician friends, and I was there campaigning for them. And when the results were announced and it was not favoring my side, so we had to go back to the same youth and say, hey guys, you know what? It didn't go our way, so let's go to the streets and block the highways.
More than 800 people were killed, and as many as 250,000 displaced during the conflict. In many cases, alcohol fueled the violence.
They supplied, we drank, so we got that extra energy we needed to block the highways, to loot, cause violence, and then eventually killed,
Ruth's liquor wasn't only fueling election violence, it was also causing an unwanted population explosion.
At that time, men were saying, oh, someone will drink, and say, so today I'm not going out. I will just sleep here. So it was very hard. So you might leave the house for him and go away, or you agree. So it was very hard time. Most of the women had children at that day because most of them was drinking. That is now you have even the child that you don't know the father. And that was the problem, the main problem. They were the fathers because maybe I'm drunkard, he's drunkard, and we agree to each other. And maybe that day the child will be there. Yeah. So someone will be pregnant without plan.
The problems in this area is poverty. Most of the parents here are single parents, of which most of them are mothers, cannot support their families in a very nice way. So you find that most of the mothers, they do a lot of brewing of changa or making alcohol to sell. They don't have any business to progress their families.
The children was having a hard time again.
And then one day Ruth's fragile world came crashing down, leaving her and her business in ruins. They lost the land they used for their brewing due to an unfortunate accident.
The man who had given us the land where we used to brew, we used to give him the brewings without paying. And then one day, he was actually drunkard. And then we leave him when he was sleeping in the shed. And we had a hole that we had made where we used to bring water from. So the man just wake up, then he just go and he fall into that water. He died on that day. After the funeral of that man, we just see the people were seeing us very badly now. So we just suggest, let us now go away from this place because we might be even, people might put something in our brewings because we were living there so that people will die.
It was also my time, to reflect. Did I really live to the standards of my expectation, It was now about, making peace with the people who are our friends, and we removed them out of their homes for no reason, actually. And it was during those high times that, this women group who was supplying us with the liquor, cut across my attention. Most of them, they had no husbands, they had no religion, so they were insignificant people in the community. And I said, okay, what if these women changed? So that means there's no liquor, and we'll always have sober minds in the community. So that's how I started visiting them one by one.
Andrew used to come, talking to us, what is wrong, you are still young. Just the brewings is very bad, so he used to tell us, just leave the brewings and go to church. I'll help you some days.
Most of them were in a position to understand, what they've been doing is just ruining the future of their young people, and taking a good example of their own kids,
We just sit down as a group and then we ask each other, how can we now survive without brewings. Someone say, oh, I might make sambusa so that I'll be just going around selling. Someone say, I'll buy the vegetables, taking to Juakali. 4 are doing the calabashes.
While the women were struggling to get their fledgling businesses off the ground, Andrew introduced them to the man who would change their lives.
The whole day was amazing because they had groups of people that they wanted me to talk to about mindsets and helping them believe that they can do certain things. You know, and each group I went to had done some pretty amazing things. They needed to have positive reinforcement.
David Bernard Stevens, an American who had come to Kenya to work as a leadership developer, traveled to Juakali to offer Ruth and her group some encouragement.
And I didn't know how I was going to relate to 20 women, you know, all single mothers, all been abused, all brewers, former brewers. You know, what was I going to tell them? You know, I had no idea what I would tell them. And Andrew said, no, just come. This is a special group, you'll want to come. And so I did, and it ended up being the most special group that I think I've ever met.
He was the first man, you know, to come close to the ground and say, hey, each one of us, you know, has something inside him that drives us to that next level. And it was through him that, you know, these women, that extra energy and the motivation.
On their own, they helped each other create a business so that they could generate enough income where they could not brew. And so they created, really, out of virtually nothing, 20 jobs. To me, it was an inspiration. But I walked also away with thinking that I think I want to help them, because they shared with me their dream that they wanted. They wanted to have a dairy herd, you know, to grow, you know, themselves so that they could have enough money to send their children to school and to the university someday, and they could create jobs and they could help other people.
David has an audience in the United States of America and globally who read his advice regularly online.
You know, I have a blog site on my own, and so I wrote a story about it.
That's the categories of the group.
So then we had some ways to donate, and we just spread the story through the social media, and other people picked it up.
Okay, two separate things.
Small amounts. The smallest I had was like, was it $5, and then a $9, and somebody gave $10. The average might be $25. You know, every once in a while you might get, you know, really a bonanza and get somebody gave $500. You know, yes. Then it turned out we were able to get 3 cows and enough to do some fencing and to fix the water. And when they did something, they tried. We wanted to give a ceremony, you know, so the school put on a huge ceremony. I had no idea they were going to do this. School was closed. All the students were there. All the community was there. The elders were there. Wonderful ceremony, and people pouring out support for the project, praising the women for what they're doing, encouraging the women for what they're doing, letting the women come speak, share their story, and then the cows were presented to them.
So in my country, we seal an agreement with a handshake. So with this handshake, the cows are yours.
Ruth and the other women set up a milking roaster, and with the proceeds from sales, they set up a merry-go-round so that each week a different member of the group gets to keep the money.
Nowadays, our children are going to school. We have been trying doing the merry-go-round.
And after paying school fees, they even had enough left over to set up a bank account.
So our money for the morning has been going to the bank. We have not gone to bank to remove anything because we are aiming to buy a land for our cows.
The group has strict rules that each member must adhere to in order to benefit from the cow project.
If someone is going back to brewing, it is out of the group.
It is this rule that Ruth's friend Monica was sadly unable to follow.
Vile siku hiyo tulianzanga group, nilipenda hiyo group siku sarao. Vile niliingianga hiyo group, kweli niliingia group. Nilipenda group ya kutosha. Hiyo group nilipenda kwa sababu nilitanya siwezi rudia pombe tena. Kwa vile watoto wamekuwa kubwa, wengine wanataka oa, wengine wanataka oleka, wengine wanataka enda chondoni, nikashindwa jinsi ya kufanya.
Unable to make enough money from the merry-go-round to provide for her family, Monica returned to brewing.
Ni bei nyingi. Shule, bei juu. Kufaa, kufanya nini? Akanishinda. Nikaamua sasa kurudi nyuma kidogo. Kwa sababu niliona hii pombe nikiweka kidogo inaweza kuja, unajua pombe pesa yao ni haraka. Sio kama sukuma yenye unasongesha, unauza mpaka inakuwa yellow, zingine unatupa. Nikaona sasa maneno ya kwenda biashara mbali kwa watoto ikanishinda. Na yule tena ukienda mpaka usiku anaingia na ulevi yake, utapata kofi. Sasa nikaona maneno ya makofi na nini na hakuna kusaidiana, wacha tukae kwa mlango. Sasa hata hii kazi sio kazi mzuri, ukiona hivyo ni kazi ya tabu. Yaani ni kuvumilia. Kwa sababu ukiwacha watoto na kutangatanga, hiyo ni shida nyingine.
With just a small family to feed, Ruth has fared better. Her son no longer lives at home, and her only other child, 9-year-old Judith, is thriving at school. An opportunity that Ruth's son never got.
10 minutes to 5.
Do you know what one cup is? Yes. Do you know? Yes. Do you know all of you? Yes. Okay.
So what I used to tell Ruth is that if you bring your child, our school is not expensive. Your child will do better in education than where she is. So she decided to bring her daughter this year.
Are you getting me? Yes. This is on the side of? Yes. That's more.
She is one of the best now. She was number 2 out of 15 pupils in class. She's doing very, very well.
I want to take my child to school. So we are facing a good way. Yeah.
I'd like to see Judith being an engineer because she passes her exams. What she passes mostly is English, maths, and sciences. So, apart from being an engineer for her, I'd like her to become a doctor or a nurse. Yeah.
Since leaving brewing, Ruth has gone from strength to strength, becoming Inget Ngetiet secretary and forming her own calabash business.
The whole of December is very nice in calabashes because the marriage is going on very well. I was thinking I'll have to put now the light on my house so that I'll be making even the whole night.
And speaking of weddings, in true fairy tale fashion, Ruth had one of her own this year.
As a time David came to our group and we just built a friendship.
I had to turn around, I had to find her. You know, there's something about her eyes, something about her smile, there's just something, I don't know.
It's not supposed to be. Yeah, for the little one.
There was something that drew me clearly. I don't know. I don't want to use the word soulmate, but it's certainly I sensed someone who was very close to maybe my spirit, whatever it is. I don't know. But it was probably after the first or second visit that I just kept knowing. When I came back to Nairobi, I just couldn't think. I want to find a way that I can go back, and probably soon after that, I sensed where it was going, at least. But you don't talk about it much until the one day that we did talk about it, and that's the night I proposed.
It's right before it comes out.
So we just talk, and then I was told, oh, I'm over age, and now if I'll be married, I will not get children again, and I knew that I can't have a child anymore. So I just say, if you just do the marriage with someone, in our culture first, the marriage is children. You have to be married to have children. So I just told directly David, no, it cannot do like that.
Yeah, I had to laugh about that because here I am 60. She was 43, 44, and she was saying in her culture she's too old. And I kept saying, if you're too old, what does that make me? I must be just ancient. But yeah, so we're both old. We're both very old. We did the traditional Kalenjin engagement. My family gets together. We strategize the night before about how we're going to negotiate for cows. Ruth's family gets together that night and the next morning on how they're going to negotiate to get cows. And then both families then come together. And David was the assistant negotiator.
Hey, this one was very nice.
Yeah.
So I had the engagement of few people in my home. Even the wedding was a small one.
Yeah, but
We were having 10 people only. So because we are very old, but we are comfortable in our life now.
I like that one too.
You were serious. But maybe at a time, if I would not leave the brewing, I would not get a husband. Yeah. So leaving the brewing have made me now to be married.
I think Ruth, she was the last one to join the group. She was the last one to be convinced that, this is what we need to do as a group. But she has come out to be one of the strong members in the group. She has always, been trying to change her life so that she can be a good example to the other women in the community who are still brewing. One of my main objectives was for these women to attain their economic independence, to really stop brewing, to have their kids fully finish the whole level and go to colleges and, get themselves into meaningful self-employment. I wanted them to set a good example. These are the women who started from nothing to something.
Our vision is we have to live in a good life. We are the best group now in the location. They are even telling the people just to see this group of ours.